So happy to have some time with you this morning, and it's Wednesday. We hope that you are having a great week. We're halfway through. It's a beautiful day out there. I actually contemplated bringing my laptop out on the deck and doing this from out there, but I figured you never know what elements might join you, so I decided to play it safe, especially since we have such a great conversation today. I didn't want anything to get in the way of it. But so happy that we have YWTV to bring us together and to have some great conversations like we will today. So we have a longtime friend of the YW, a personal friend of mine. Happy to have Sandra Scaiano join us today. Sandra is a web designer, digital strategist, and Kajabi platform expert, and she helps entrepreneurs set their possibilities in their business and helps them execute them. And her clients include coaches, course creators, industry experts, and female entrepreneurs. She's an expert in design, digital marketing, branding, and she allows for her long-term work with clients and serves them through their different stages. Let's see. Of business growth. Sorry, I'm reading some of this, so I don't want to get it wrong. She's the creator of a new podcast, which I can't wait to talk about with her. It just launched, so we're going to hear about it hot off the presses, The Long Game. And she also provides entrepreneurs with perspective, encouragement. I can say she is all about encouragement. She is like girl power all the way, and a dose of real about business. And she has a very unique, relatable style. And Sandra, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So when I reached out to Sandra and asked her to join us today, it actually happened because for those of you that have been watching, you know that we've been having lots of conversations with small business owners. And one of the themes that I kept hearing from our small business owners is how when the pandemic hit and everyone had to start sheltering in place and their kind of natural business practice that they were doing got interrupted, they quickly had to figure out, how to continue and get their, message out there about their products, about their business, and that suddenly the website, became their everything, and obviously social media and other, facets as well. And so it was a theme I kept hearing. And so it made me think, wow, there probably and could be entrepreneurs that are home that really are trying to still figure out how to make that shift into their website. Maybe they haven't done it yet, or there may be people that are still trying to start a small business and kind of contemplating that piece. But I don't know anyone better to have that conversation with. And Sandra, she has done WENS for us, our Women's Empowerment Network, and so great conversations about branding. She's done her own wonderful workshops that she hosts that definitely you should be following her on social media and stay connected to some of the opportunities that she puts out there. But I just knew she was the right person to talk to about this. So let's get into it, lady.
Yeah. Well,
So,
go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so business owners have had to make the pivot, right? So tell us a little bit about what they should be thinking about right now when it comes to all this website stuff.
Well, most importantly is being able to communicate your message. So whether that is through social media or your website, the most important thing is, what is the state of affairs of your business right now? Have you had to close? Have you had to shift your hours? Are you servicing people online only? Like, that is the number one thing. And I see it with restaurants a lot, because you'll go and there's no update. Like, are they open? Are they doing curbside? What's happening? So just being able to communicate what is the state of affairs and the current state of affairs is number one. And in this conversation, I want to dispel a myth that like your website is set in stone. It's not. A website is malleable. It's a living, breathing thing. And I know it sounds easy for me to say, like, go change it, but you really can make some updates to your website and then change it back to your other header and hero image once the times have changed or your systems have changed. So I think that is one of the biggest things, is to say, don't be afraid to get on there and just put something up that's very clear so that people can see. I have one client who's a personal chef, and in the very beginning she called me and we ended up putting a pop-up on her site. She was going to continue. She cooks in her home and delivers and to her clients. And we put up a pop-up about her sanitary training and her safety procedures and everything, so that when her clients came to order on her website their weekly menu, the first thing they see is, here's a affirmation of my training, how I handle things, how I'm handling things right now, and to put people at ease. So there's things you can do on your website that really can help your clients move along to still work with you.
Yeah, I have to say, I've noticed that with the restaurants too, by the way, what you said earlier. And I think that that is such good information for business owners right now, is that, there's so many of us that we want to support a small business. So, when there is something that we're searching for right now, we are immediately going to people's websites to see, well, what's going on with them, and can I use them? And when there's nothing there, some people may do the next step of dialing their phone number, and some people may not. So, you may be
But
operational.
some of them can't even answer their phone now. There's like two people in the restaurant even, so you're just losing business. Right.
Yeah. Okay, so it's such an opportunity to be able to just have it out there. And I couldn't agree more that letting people know what your practices are right now and giving them that confidence that, wow, okay, I can place this order and feel good about it, because obviously they thought enough to just put it out there and not wait for us to ask. So,
And you can do these things in Canva. I mean, that is a free program, a free graphic design program, canva.com, that you can use their templates and even just create something with an image or text that says, this is what we're up to now, and then pop it up on your website. So it doesn't have to be such a uphill battle. I mean, I know everybody has a lot of moving parts in their business, but it's definitely one that you should give a little attention to. You can also put those banners up across the top of your, they're called announcement bars, and that can be there all the time, so that you can say, here's our hours, or even, change it up based on products that have come in or things like that. So that as soon as you go onto your website, someone goes onto your website, they're able to see like, oh, there's an update. They now have hand sanitizer in, or whatever.
yeah.
So there are these little spaces that you can use, and once you are in the system of updating them, they're really effective.
So we'll link on our site here in our comments, Canva, in case anybody wants to, if you're not familiar with it and you want to follow up and learn about it, and any other tips and links that Sandra gives us, we'll stick there for all of you watching. And let me ask a question that, maybe is just because I'm not as like in this space as others. So you said it's easy to go in and make changes to your website. That seems surprising to me.
Well,
like,
here's the thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, so do you have to have a certain skill level to do that, and kind of like training for a small business owner does it take for them to get to that point with their own website?
I wouldn't say you can design a whole website, perhaps, but to go in and make a change, or to be able to have some of these things implemented, like the announcement bar. Once it's implemented, then you can literally go in and just change the text, and you can go and a lot of what's happening now with WordPress and Squarespace, like, it literally looks like an email editor you pull up. So if you can type an email and change the color of your font, you can go in and update these things. So yes, it may take a one-time tutorial, but you can talk with your web design professional, or even like if you're using Squarespace, they have tutorials on that and support. So you can go and find out how to do that. And then once you have it set up, it really is going in and changing it out. And even for the big hero images on our site, like, if you know what size that image is, and you can have your web designer tell you, you can make an image in Canva and swap it out. It literally, that's one of the myths. Like, I don't want to go and touch it. Can't. We did it. It's done now. And it really isn't. It should be a living, breathing thing. Your website, and even for beyond these times, like, you should be able to do that for the holidays and talk about what you're doing during Black Friday, or those type of things. So you can go out. I think everybody just needs to get over that first hurdle of, okay, I have to figure this out type of thing.
Right. So that's interesting, because you're talking about almost like kind of seasonally, or, being able to have that space as an entrepreneur to make those changes to your website. So this kind of wasn't a seasonal thing, what happened with COVID. It was just, kind of felt like it dropped out of nowhere, although I know that there was a little bit of a build to it. But for business owners, I don't know that any of us, and nonprofits as well, that we expected it to just come to a screeching halt the way that it felt like it did almost overnight, for all of us. So as a business owner, and I know as a nonprofit, like how do you or should you be thinking about adapting and changing your business to be able to just respond to where it is right now, or do you just kind of do business as usual and just what's the best course of action right now?
Well, I think you should be thinking about adapting for sure. I mean, if you don't have access to your clients, if you're a brick and mortar, you've got to figure out, am I doing curbside pickup, or am I offering products on my website so people can buy and then pick up? If you're a service-based business, you've got to create content that's digitally providing value and getting people interested so that they can come, and you can still service your clients. So I think there's different levels to think about, and obviously it's different for every business, but you have to, like, this could go on. I mean, we're already now till June 30th. We didn't think about that here in New Jersey. So, you have to really think about, how am I going to do this? I have a client who has a brick and mortar, and he's moved everything over to another digital platform to sell physical products. And now we're working on an e-commerce site because he wants to own it and be able to control it. But that moving that over in the interim has kept his business going and bought some time while the other piece is being developed. And even like if you're a service business, I think a lot has to be done with content. So, you could be a flower shop and you could do online flower arranging for free or charge, and then sell the kits of flowers and pot and little foam brick for curbside pickup. Like, there's ways to use content to drive those sales to keep your business still going. And especially for service businesses as well. I love, some of the creative ideas I've seen people do and I've heard of, just in talking with things. But like, you could, if you're a stylist, you could do waist up, conversations and what to buy and those type of things, because you're still going on Zoom calls, and, so you can still use your expertise, but, you have to tweak it. And I think really content is the lead in for that. Being creative with content and putting it out there, whether that be on social media, whether that be on your website through a blog, whether that be through a podcast, or through live video, all of that works to draw attention, but also to show what you can do and what you're still capable of in terms of servicing your clients and customers.
So, you mentioned podcast, and it just seems like a great time to just like work it into a conversation, because I know that you just launched a major new piece of your work with your podcast, which I want to talk about. But I also am curious, was that something that you planned? Was that like in the works for you? Or was it something that you said, oh, okay, let me accelerate it because now's the right time? So I'm just curious for business owners,
Sure.
like, how to, do you take your ideas and then suddenly like stick them on full speed ahead because of something else that's happening around you from a planning perspective?
So I actually had the idea for a year, and really just kind of let it mull about. And then come January or February, I was like, I'm doing this. So my actual launch date was supposed to be in the beginning of April, which I had things ready. And I said, I have to go back and re-record, because if I don't address what's happening, it'll sound tone deaf. So I really made an effort and then pushed the date back, which, I felt like it was just the right timing. People were ready for it. And, I feel like we did go through a time period where, everybody's business was changing, and there was a shock going on. We were all shocked. We were all super emotional. And now we've kind of come out of that a little bit to where we are, settling into things as they are now, so that we're able to say like, okay, I know I need to move forward. I know I need to take some steps. So I feel like now is a really good time for that. And and for people to be inspired. So what I wanted to do with my podcast is talk about my philosophy of business, which is the long game. You have to show up, you have to do the work. There are all of these quick fixes. We talk about the overnight success, but it's really the 10-year overnight success. And not to say that things can't happen or you can't use certain tools and things to integrate into your business. But, I really want to talk to people who, in my interviews and also through my own experience with my clients, like, these are the things that we do that make it stick. And that it is the long game. And we're not comparing ourselves to other people. We're doing things at our own pace, because that's a big one too, is people see competitors or see other people doing things. And it's like, she's on year 8, you're on year 2, like different pieces. And I always tell my clients that you have to work in your business. Like, you can't just think your business, because we could all think and pontificate. But when you actually work with clients and start doing the work, that's where the growth happens. And that's what leads you to the next step. So, doing the work is also about being ready when the opportunity presents itself. So, the podcast is really about all of that. And, I started having some epiphanies about the long game is relationships. The long game is showing up. So that's each episode will be a topic where we'll talk about these elements of your business that everybody can put in for that, apply to their own business. So, and there's a lot of fun too.
Yeah, well, again, and I know just because I know you, and we've had a lot of conversations, that you are, I really always think about you as like one of the biggest kind of girl gang supporters that's out there. And I also know that you really believe in having like a circle for planning, for business planning, for coaching, mastermind circles, and all of that. Maybe share a little bit with our viewers about that process and how that's helped you evolve your business into some of these, amazing new pieces.
Yeah, I am a big believer in, you don't go it alone. I mean, you need a community around you for motherhood, for business, for all of it. So I feel like that has really helped me. I have been a solopreneur, so I could be sitting in my house by myself, just getting things done. And I love that ability to have people to bounce ideas off of, to talk about things. And with the mastermind groups, I mean, they're really so beneficial, because you're with other business owners who they may ask a question that's going to spark an idea for yourself that you didn't think of. So a lot of that helps. Plus the accountability. I mean, I'm working for the past year with a coach in a group that has been all about 90-day sprints. And so it's amazing. I looked back in December on what I accomplished, and I just am setting these short-term goals for myself. What am I going to do in the next 90 days? And it kind of takes the pressure off of, and it takes that, oh, it's far away off, because I've got to get it done. And it also has that piece of, I know somebody's going to ask me about it on Monday when we're on the call, like, what did you get done? And as well as, is there a place you're stuck? And this podcast piece is a perfect for instance, because I had taken it through a few different forms. I was going to do an Alexa flash briefing, which are the short type of podcasts for the Alexa devices. And I was like 100% sold on that. I thought it was great. And then I was like, I really need a longer platform for myself to talk and to do things. So I had, it morphed over that time. But once I was ready and so certain, like, you're able to move that needle in what feels like a very quick amount of time. So I really rely on that and seek that out. And I do encourage other business owners to have those coaches, have those mastermind groups, because they really do help.
Yeah. Yeah, I know you've sold me on them, listening to you talk about how much they've inspired you over these years. So I really had a different thought about them after, our conversations. So going back to websites for a minute, so when you look at websites out there of small businesses, what are the pieces that you think are just essential that everyone should have, and where do you think that some of them go wrong?
Well, that's kind of shifting right now a little bit. Number one, everyone, you should have some type of web presence. Like that's just it. Like even having a place for people to go with your contact information. It doesn't have to be super fancy or moving parts and things like that. But, how can people get in touch with you? Also just clearly state what you do. Like, what is it? Like, I find that people get very wordy and creative about describing, and I'm not sure what that means exactly. Or, so I really, actually the podcast episode that launched today is about finding your brand voice. So you guys can check that out. And it's about knowing your brand voice so you know how to say what you do and say it very clearly. And I give some tips on how to find that. That piece is something that I have to discover for all the clients that I work with. Like, what is the brand voice of A, B, C client, so that I can help them and direct them in that way. So that's a really important piece. So making sure your brand voice comes through. And that's also just listening to yourself. What do you do? Listening to what your clients are asking you to do and what their needs are. So that piece is number one. And I think now there's also an opportunity for business owners to start thinking more about how they can use a website and digital presence to facilitate their whole business experience. So, can you use a digital portion for your onboarding of your clients? Are you an accountant and everybody has to do the same thing? Like, take them through these steps. Have a digital piece for them to have a video or engage with so that they understand that process, so that they're ready for the digital Zoom call now. I think there's a big opportunity for thinking about how we now do business and how we can use our digital platforms, be it website, or social media, things like that. But I think that's a piece that people always just said, I'm going to put up what I do or who I am or what I offer, rather than there's so many automations you can use that now, and there's so much that you can do that can take that off of you. I mean, that was my word of the year. I do a word of the year every year. And last year it was systems. And I mean, I systemized my business from the back end. And I mean, it was amazing to think like, okay, I've set up these workflows where someone does this, they hit that button, and then this email sends to them, and they can make an appointment on my schedule. And then that connects with my Google Calendar. Like, it all happens. And I then have a list of questions they've answered. So when I show up for the call, I'm prepared. I could, do a little research to have this conversation, but I did none of it. Like, they clicked a button on my website and then I show up on that day. And that's what an automation can do as a solopreneur, like, I don't have to be back and forth. What works for you? Oh, Friday's not good. How about Tuesday? Blah, blah, blah. Like, there are all these pieces that you can put in. So I really like to get people thinking about using their website as a tool and how we can use our websites and digital products for with automation, so that they, things go on your list and emails get added and things get sent and there's a nurture sequence. All of these things that help your business, that you can think about it and have to slow down and take the time to set it up once. But then after that, it helps you move forward because that automation is working for you.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because I know one of the conversations we often have as part of our wins with our small business owners over the years is, when do you take your team to the next level? So when do you become a team of one, so maybe a team of two or a team of three? But listening to you talk, it sounds like if you really utilize your website efficiently, that you almost don't need to add the bodies. Some of that work can actually happen through your website. So, were you able to hear that, Sandra?
Oh, I heard up to efficiently, but yes, you can. I got the gist. You can totally do some things that move that team needle back a little bit further. I mean, there is a time where you've got to expand.
Right.
I mean, I've just done that myself and have assistants and different team members now. But in the early parts, you can do so much more by having these automations as part of your website. So I think people don't think of a website as a tool to help you. They think of it as you know, a billboard, so to
Right.
speak. But there's a lot of technology that goes into there and that can be built into there. And it really doesn't matter what platform you're on. I mean, people say, oh, but I'm on this or I'm using that. Like, you can still dig in. All of those services offer these different automations that you can start using just to help build that system for yourself so that you have a little bit more time and can put your energy in other places.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And that's great advice for our small business owners. So before we kind of close out, anything else, any last bits, any last nuggets you want to share about websites for our small business owners? We've covered so much.
Right. And I think also, if you don't have a website, you can start working on one, but you can still use social media. And a lot of what we're talking about still applies in these other places. So, change your banner on your Facebook page to include your hours and your new operation strategies or how you're working. Make sure that your contact info is up to date. Like, you can use these social platforms. They should all be updated as well, in addition to what you're doing. The same strategies we spoke about on this call, you can apply to those. So don't feel like, I don't have one, I can't do anything. Like, you can, and it's really all about information and communication. So communicate what's happening.
Yep. Well, that's great advice. And I'll also ask you one more question, because I know we were talking about it at the onset, and I just think it's something that probably a lot of small business owners, especially women-owned, small business owners, are dealing with at home. How have you transitioned, being at home with everybody else and trying to operate your business? Any tricks or tips?
Well, yes, I had said that my whole family has invaded my work from home sanctuary. I enjoy my work from home very much, but it's okay. And one thing that I've personally done, my husband's working from home full time, so we've skewed a bit. I have the ability. I've skewed my hours, so I technically don't start really until noon, and I'm there to help the kids with their schooling and all of that. I mean, they ask a lot of questions. I'm always like, do you ask as many questions in school? Because I don't know. I'm like, but that's a priority, to give them that attention and give them that time. So I now, I pretty much start around noon and then go through my day, and I've shifted, and I have all my calls, client calls, in the afternoon rather than the morning now. And that's like an automation piece as well, where I've created another calendar that's just the afternoon calendar. So I can send it to people and say, now you can only book time in the afternoon, when you before couldn't book past 1 o'clock, because those were my change of hours. And my husband now he's done pretty much at 5-ish. So dinner's on him, and I'm working through. And, so we've made some adjustments just, with our timing and things like that. But, I do have one of those businesses that I can work at all different hours. So I was normally up late doing things anyway. So that's okay for me. But
Well, I just hope everyone watching, please connect with Sandra on her various platforms, and definitely check out her new podcast. You will not want to miss it. And I know we will stick a link to that as well, specifically to her podcast, on our Facebook feed. And for those of you watching, if there's someone in your life that you're thinking, gee, I wish they had heard this conversation. Sandra and I were talking about this when we were chatting earlier, how there's been so much great content on Facebook, but because we're busy with work, sometimes we're missing things that we really wished we had seen. The beauty of all of it, whether it's ours or someone else's, is you can go back usually and watch it later, and you can actually save it and watch it when you've got that time, whether it's 3 a.m. or 5 p.m. or 6 a.m. Whatever works for you. So please feel free to share this with friends that you think would benefit from hearing Sandra's great advice. And, keep an eye, because, Sandra is a friend of the YW. So she's normally we pull her in to share her wisdom in various places. I'm always so grateful that she does. And thank you for being such a good girl gang supporter.
Thank you. And I'm happy to answer questions. I'll also share this to my page. So if you want to ask questions underneath it, I'm happy to answer questions and help move your audience in the right direction, or if they're stumped on something. So feel free, everyone, to comment and ask.
Thank you. Thank you. So you hear that, everyone? Feel free to ask your questions. And when she links on her page, go to her page and follow her as well. And for those of you that will stick with us for the rest of the week, tomorrow we usually take one day a week off to give our great video background person who no one sees, but she's doing all the magic behind the scenes. And, the back office team that's working so hard on all of this, we give them one day off during the week so that they can rally and keep planning. So tomorrow we will not be doing a YWTV. But we'll be back on Friday, and that day off is well worth it because Friday we've got two powerhouses for you. We have Linda Wellbrook and Tara Gilvar, who are probably
awesome.
They are both New Jersey ladies, but have taken the concept of networking and made it a national effort for both of them. And they happen to be really good friends. And they are wonderful sources of information. And because of a lot of conversations I've been having, I thought it was a great opportunity to check in with the two of them about networking remotely and what that's like, because they really are two of the greatest networking gurus that I know. And like everyone else, they, quickly did the pivot. They actually were ahead of the curve and had some of these pieces in place already. So it'll be nice to catch up with the two of them on Friday. So we hope you join us for that. We have lots of great conversations planned for you next week as well. And as usual, we hope that you're, staying well, minding your mind. We're thinking of you. We know everyone's having different times right now. Wherever you're at, please reach out to someone for support and, know that there is a community out there for you. And if there's something the YW can do to link you, just please reach out. Know that we will do our best. So with that, everyone, Sandra, thank you to you for
Thank you.
And doing all the great work that you're out there doing and inspiring us all and lifting us all up. And all of you out there, have a great day. Try to get outside and get a little bit of that vitamin D because, we don't get it every day, but a beautiful day like today, try to soak it up. I may do the rest of my afternoon with my laptop on the deck from here. We'll see. All right, everyone, be well. Have a great one.
Thank you. Bye-bye.